Hi, I'm Lynn Wagner with UUCF Frederick, and where one of the main things we've also done is to pass the 8th principle. It was so easy, there were no objections to anything, it just went so smoothly. Actually, there were objections, but when it was finally voted on last June, it was by a pretty wide margin. So the challenge that we now face, of course, is bringing it to life. And when you think of this as being, and this is how I think of it, as being a whole heart, whole mind, and whole body work, meaning that it's not siloed within our Dismantling Racism team or any single individual or committee, but instead resides with and touches all of the congregation, all of our committees, all of our leadership. It's a big lift, and it can feel daunting. So one thing we are in the midst of is a second round of beloved conversations. I think this is a powerful experience. I went through the first round, and now I'm a facilitator. And many participants, myself included, report that no matter where they fall or think they fall on the spectrum of wakefulness to individual and institutional racism, they make discoveries that touch both their heart and mind, despite some grumbling that may occur along the way. And this journey from head to heart seems especially important in UU congregations, where there's a lot of living in the head. So now I'm certain that not all 40 participants from our first round were activated by their experience, but we did get some new folks joining our Dismantling Racism team. They just went directly from Beloved Conversations to DRT, myself included, and while others are volunteering in the community through partnerships that UCF has developed with some community-based organizations. And one of the ways that I've continued my journey within UUCF is through my role as facilitator of a weekly Buddhist meditation group. It's a meditation discussion group, and since last May I've offered a monthly talk or reading by a Buddhist teacher of color. Now this effort to connect Buddhist teachers of color with our congregation may seem very small. It is very small, but in fact Western Buddhism has at least one thing in common with UU congregations: it's overwhelmingly white. And so we're kind of at this intersection of the very white with the very white. It's interesting. I wonder, is there a caucus group for that? So I do hope that by these kinds of efforts, we do journey closer to the goal of the 8th principle of journeying towards spiritual wholeness by working to build a diverse, multicultural, beloved community by our actions that accountably dismantle racism and other oppressions in ourselves and our institutions. I just want to put in a plug, if anyone, in case anyone's interested, the National UU Buddhist Fellowship Sangha is having its convocation in April in Garrison, New York, and the theme is looking at race and racism through a Buddhist lens. And it's going to be, the retreat is 4 days, April 25th through the 28th, and it's going to be led by Jan Willis, who's Professor Emerita from Wesley, and she is a longtime Buddhist teacher, like over 4 decades, and has studied under Tibetan Buddhist teachers all around the world. So very excited about that. Thank you. Oh, of course, she's African American. I'm so sorry. Yes.
Oh, it's so great to be here today. I knew this was going to be a wonderful day. Humbling, yes. Here we are, 2 white women talking about working against racism, but that's our work. We've had the great benefit in our congregation of learning more about African American leadership in Frederick County, And there's a group called ARCH, African American Resources, Cultural, and Heritage, and they shared a proverb with us. It's called The Tale of the Lion, sort of a play on words. Until the story of the hunt is told from the perspective of the lion, the tale will always glorify the hunter. So I share this with you as part of our effort to center Black voices, and that's something that I want to express a lot of gratitude toward people like Paula Cole-Jones, people from Paint Branch who hosted the first Black Lives of UU Summit I ever attended about in 2016, people from Annapolis who did Coming to the Table, people from Columbia who have a Black Lives Matter vigil, and certainly people from All Souls with the Jubilee Anti-Racism training, people from the Church of the Larger Fellowship. I don't know if you say the VIEW or VU, V-U-U, but if you ever get on YouTube, they have wonderful weekly discussions. And so this is our effort to be accountable when we have very few Black members and we don't want to put them on the spot. We do interact and talk with them, but our Dismantling Racism team is about 11 people right now, and we're all white. Well, Diana's here. We have one person of color, very new to our group. One thing that we are working on is trying to become more heart-centered. You use, as Lynn alluded to, very often in the head. And I really, if you have not yet heard it, I encourage you all to Google Reverend Mark Morrison Reed. I'm sure many of you have heard of him, but he delivered a wonderful lecture last April 2017, right after Christina Rivera was not hired and Reverend Morales resigned. It was called the MINS Lecture, M-I-N-N-S. Please read that. It's the black hole in the white UU psyche, about how there have always been Black UUs. So we feel like we're working on 3 levels: individual growth and change, congregational growth and change, and congregation and community work. So we're working to partner with local organizations. And part of our progress has been to getting minister buy-in. He's done more sermons. He's had Black leaders from the pulpit, including Reverend Hagler from D.C. So when we developed this, having 3 goals last year of getting the Black Lives Matter approved by the congregation and the 8th principle, we thought that would be great. But we also had the Beloved Conversations series. So I'll leave you with some words for my beloved white brothers and sisters from Brittany Packnett. Pretend like, if you're a white person, pretend like you're an employee going to a job. What would you ask of your boss? What do you expect of me? How do I meet your expectations? And that's what us white folks should be asking our siblings of color.